welcome to A Hair Over Heel. I'm Hale, and today we are looking at an old game known as Monster Rancher, released for the PlayStation 2 back in 1995, I want to say. 97 by Tecmo. Not, not bound by Nepco, just Nepco, released as, for kids to adult, uh, rated kids to adults by the ESRB. I couldn't really find any other ratings for any other system for the EU or Zero, but yeah. So, what is Monster Rancher? Why I wanted to actually go into this was uh, a few months ago, like last year, the year prior. I heard about the news that in Japan, uh, they were re-releasing Monster 1 and 2 DX on the Switch in Japan. Then, within the last year, it was accessed within the United States. So, I like this. I always love this game. My brother really enjoyed the game. So it's like when I heard that it was coming out, like, you know what? Let's get it. And it's like, still love it. And so, what is the direct gameplay? The best I can say is that it is very much in the realms of Pokemon craze. That it is you're raising a creature and to fight battle and whatnot, and you can slowly grow a connection closer to these creatures. But unlike Pokemon, in which it's not like, oh, here's the thing, I'm building a team, and I can slowly build a team that I'm falling in love with and having a story. The original release of this was very much take it and you can select when you go through the not really tutorial, but when you go through the opening sections of the game, it like okay, here's a shop that you can pick up three monsters. And when I was younger, it's like, oh yeah, I love this. But the big selling point is that anything you could get from your like this really big CD. I always loved this one CD that I had. I always loved I don't even know it went off to, but there was a Kenny Rogers. I'm a Kenny Rogers fan, and I got a gift of this a collection of three CDs of his greatest hits, and it's like, oh, I got a monster from it. Next CD, got a creature, a monster from it. Next CD, completely different monster. And so this is the fun of this game. It's that you have a deep, abiding connection to a CD, test it out, and you can do it. Uh, with that being said, this was released on the original PS1, so you really only had access to PS1 games and actual CDs. There was no DVDs, you couldn't really do that. But the series was really successful and produced quite a number of series. So, the point is, you can potentially get boatload of monsters from your CD collection, which I realized not a lot of people have a CD collection nowadays. So, but it's one of those things that if you're still a CD collector, I would almost try Monster Rancher or any of the other games within the series and just break out these games. In terms of gameplay, it's actually quite simple. It's and almost any game of its era, there's not a lot of tutorials. There's probably about there's dozens of baseline creatures uh, throughout the entire series. Um, each are good in different areas. Like you have tigers, which are really good at speed and skill. Speed is how easy it is for you to dodge, and how easy is it to recover wheel during combat. For wheel, it is the recovery of you use wheel to make attacks. Uh, and skill, it's how easy is it to hit an opponent. But tigers are really bad at defense and attack, so they can fairly easily hit and make multiple attacks within a fight. But they are and dodge attacks. But they are, if they are hit, it's really hard to recover. You are hit, and you are hit hard, and you can't dish out a lot of damage. On the other side, you have golems, which are really high attack and really high defense, but you suck at speed and uh, skill and speed, so you gain this advantage of just like I can like if I can hit, which is not very often, I hit for like a truck, but I don't hit that often. And different creatures have different things. Suezos, this big guy, the big eyeball guy, somewhat the icon of it, um, has really high intelligence. So like your Pokemon special attacks are based on intelligence. They can hit a little bit harder, and with a few of the Suezo's attacks, they actually can take away your opponent's wheel during a fight. Thusly, a lot of the benefit of a Suezo is that they they have a high intelligence. They aren't really good in other stats, but if you can combine creatures in this game and get different combos. But a big benefit of Suezo is that if you hit somebody with certain attacks, you can actually take away wheel from your opponent. So during combat, you can potentially just like, depending on the opponent, make sure they rarely attack you by sapping away that wheel. Uh, which brings me into, like I just said, combining, which I just mentioned there. That's like, uh, you can potentially like combine the tiger and the golem and get like a mainly tiger with a support, with a subtype of golem. I forget the actual combo name, but like then each one, this new creature is slightly better in some stats, slightly worse in other stats. Like this tiger golem has all the attack moves of a tiger, so the really good hit chance, um, good recovery. It the attacks have really good hit chance, somewhat lower damage, uh, but even though it uses the model of the tiger, it has all the stats more commonly associated with golem, so high attack, higher defense, but somewhat poor skill and speed. Uh, so the attacks actually hit probably not as often as a pure tiger, but they hit a whole lot more often than a pure golem, um, and for a whole lot more than a pure tiger. And that's the fun of it. It's that you can combine and do this. And one of the big thing, the end goal uh, of the game is to take a monster from like D rank up to S rank, and then they fall on just get this really powerful monster. Um, but a big thing of it is that with it is that you should be aware of is that with this that you can raise a creature and there is a time aspect. Unlike Pokemon, in which, yeah, I can literally just play a game for 100 hours before I even beat the Elite Four and just never get to them. And here, there is a quote unquote Elite Four, which is the final, like, the four major cups for the S tier, the four major tournaments. But unlike that, there is a literal calendar within this. Within it, like there's the 12 months, which are split into 4 weeks. In each week, you can either send your creature off to train and make money, do your job, raise some skill, and make some money for you. You can, too, go and enter a tournament, potentially gaining a boatload of money if you win the tournament, potentially other items. In which there's another category of the tournament in which every 4 months there is a major tournament for every cup, like every tier. You start at the D cup and go D. You start in E, D, B, C, B, A, S, and you're trying to go through each of these, and so you can enter these smaller random tournaments to get extra money. Enter these end of the month big tournaments that just in which you can potentially get into the next tier up, which means the tournaments have better money payouts and or better item payouts if you win. Or you then there's a month-long training in which it costs like 2,000 monies to send your creature off to do training for a month, in which at that point, like each week, if a creature can fail at a walk week, or fail at a week of training, so they don't get any stat raises. But if they succeed, that stat growth doubles. And they do it for a month. So for $2,000, you can basically send your creature off to train in attack and potentially come back twice as more powerful as it would if you did 4 weeks of training. But there is another thing you have to manage. The tiredness of your creature. In that they can be very good, somewhat tired, and very tired. In which the first three settings, the very good, okay, and well, or somewhat tired, they can still do most of the things. Once you start into getting to the tired section or the very tired, they need to take a rest. And remember, this is in a week setting, and there's also a year setting on top of it. Because here's the thing. Another thing that you have to manage. Unlike Pokemon, your creatures can die. So you have to manage. There's a lot of things you have to manage. Oh yeah, I'm gonna raise all my creatures stats, and like I said, certain creatures are good at some things, bad at others. So you should probably focus primarily on the gooder stats, on the stats that they're good in, than the poor stats. But you shouldn't ignore the bad stats because it can be a problem. But as you're raising and whatnot, they can become more powerful. But you always have to say, within about 5 to 6 years, depending on how well you treat them, they could potentially die. And it's like, then, like, with them, it's like, I know. I usually think, like, okay, it's been 6 years, so go and freeze them at the lab within the town, get another creature, and then raise them up, and then eventually I can get a even and then I can potentially, if the combination's good, combine them and get an even stronger creature. Their stats are in part reset, but if I raise them for 5 years, they could be unequivocally stronger than their weaker than the two creatures that are combined. Um, I have tried other games within the series. Like I said, what really prompted this video was the release of Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX for the Switch. Um, and it comes with the original Monster Rancher and Monster Rancher Monster Rancher 2, which I tried a little bit, and they made some improvements, but I never really could get into it as heavily as in one. Something about the simplicity, like they like, okay, let's keep the base formula, but let's try and add all this. It's like, God, there seems to be way too much difference here. It's like saying, oh, you like Pokemon Red and Blue? Here, try Pokemon X and Y. There's if you're familiar with those, that's like fundamentally they have a lot of similarities, but to go from generation 2 to generation 6 and all the things that they added and changed about the base rule sets, that's like this this and these are two radically different games, and this is an immediate fall. X and Y is an immediate fall. Pokemon Red and Blue is like, no, there's like like 4 games in between these two. It's like, and that's how I felt with Pokemon Monster Rancher 2. And I tried again. I've tried Rancher 2 years after the fact, and it's like, ugh. And I've even tried Monster Rancher 3 that I have. I picked it up from a local retro game store, and I've heard that 3 is probably not the most well received of the game franchise, but it's still one of those like it's like I'm playing. It's like this doesn't feel like Monster Rancher 1, and looking at Monster Rancher 2, it's like this doesn't like okay. This is if you go from 1 to 2 to 3, I can see where they were heading. But what I love, like, if you love the battling in Monster Rancher 1 and like I do, oh, this does not feel like Monster Rancher 3, and 3 does not feel like this. They, in part, do feel like the same, but at the same time, maybe I didn't go too far into either one, but 2 feels more like this and a slight evolution of this. And maybe I had to dig deep into both, but and point is, if you have a Switch, I would definitely recommend picking up Monster Rancher DX. I think it's running about $15 at the moment. or $10 potentially. But now you might be wondering, well, wait, then you said that the game, Nick, you can get up more monsters by uh, picking up creature by inserting discs. How does that work with uh, the Monster Rancher game? How does that work with the Switch? Do you have to put in new game cartridges, or does it read other game states? It's like, no, it doesn't. It's like, oh, how does that work? You can actually like, okay, it's like you can potentially put in an artist or a song title, I think, and it's like, okay, go to the shrine and enter. I'm gonna use Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers. It's like, here's a few Kenny Rogers things we have saved in the cartridge, and oh, here's a few songs, and it's like, I'll select that one, and it summons the creature associated with that. So like that's a nice fix for a re-release of this kind. Definitely within today's era. What I what I like to like oh yeah like select a song or select an artist and whatnot. Yes. What I like of like oh yeah Pokemon Sword and Shield. What does I have Pokemon save a Pokemon Shield. Even though I have a cartridge, it's like I wonder what it's gonna do if I select Shield from this. What does it do me? What if I like? I'm forgetting what it actually does. But if you leave the CD for Monster Rancher in, it does actually spit out a creature. I was like, I would have loved them to see if they could have slightly fixed that code. But yeah, this is a game that I would probably suggest. It's a solid 7, probably a 6, but I saw the graphics don't really hold up. It's in that weird 3D polygon now that the they're good, but they don't like of the light 90s that they look okay for the era, but they aren't that of the like even the mid 2000s, even some mid 2000 like 3D games like Gladiator stories that I'm playing through on the channel. Even that has a better thing to it. So this video has been running very long, and probably a bit too rambly, but I would definitely recommend picking up Rancher. If you have a big PlayStation 1 game library and a large CD, I would probably recommend picking up the original CD. But I looked this up a while ago on eBay. Most of these are running between $20 to $40, like in the $20 range just for the CD, and the 30 to 40 range for the 4 CD and whatnot for the 4K game. So I would if you have a Switch, I would highly recommend picking up the re-release and trying it out for yourself. As again, I'm a hair over heel. If you like what you saw, please click the like button and give me a subscribe. And down in my description, there's also a link to my partner's Etsy page. You can pick up a little friend like Francis here. Oh, he's so cute. She also does a number of goblins and pieces of clothing along with horses. All absolutely wonderful. Oh, so give it a check and see what you like. Peace.